So set your project directory. Make sure it's set to a folder called Animated Morphs underneath Advanced Facial 2. Click OK. Let's go to File and load our objects from the Objects folder. If you were smart, you caught that I forgot to export the eyes in the last lesson. So if you haven't done so, go ahead and do that. Click on the eyes and the head and load both of those. Let's get rid of this light, minus key, delete the children as well, and hide the camera. So we have our character here in its default state and the eyes that it needs to wrap around. Now one thing we're going to do is we're going to use an expression. We're going to modify an expression that we've been using throughout the CD, which is Cycle Branch Morph Add Frame, or CBMAF. We're going to modify it to play a sequence along the timeline, and to do that we need to have a sequencing object that we can offload onto different morph sliders. So go into Setup and let's create a sequencer. Let's create a new slider, and we'll just call this one Sequencer. What Sequencer does is it will store 12 different states of 12 sliders. Right click on these, make them active, middle mouse click on the static channel ones, and set all of their values to 0. What the sequencer is this is just going to hold a set of keyframes on the positive side, and we're going to use CBMAF to copy the state of those keyframes into our morphs. Now each of these sliders represents one frame of an animation, so we can store 12 different states on here. That should be more than enough for a single sequence. So we'll start with the X position and just keyframe this sequencer inside Animate. So frame 0, everything starts at 0. Frame 1, X position goes up to 1. Frame 2, it goes back down. And make sure that the keyframes set channel editor set to all channels, so all of these will get keyframed the minute you move one slider. So on frame 2, Y position is positive and X position is mute. Frame 3, drop down Y, raise Z. Frame 4, drop down Z, raise the heading. Frame 5, and do the same thing, so we get a sequence of sliders that tell us what morph target is supposed to be the active one. X scale, go to frame 8, Y scale, frame 9, Z scale, and so we only need to create this once, and we can use this sequencer in other parts of the character, especially with morph target sliders. Let's take a look at our channels and make sure that we have our channels working for us. It's Y position. In frame 12, Y is down, and then Z is up. We don't need to worry about frame 13. Z is the last frame, so we have, if you scrub through here, you have the different sliders activating in our sequencer. So now the next thing to do is load up our sliders. We've set this up as a sequence. Go to File and save this scene as AnimatedMorphsCh2.fxs.